we are going to be looking at what we covered in week 1 from Essentials. This is not cycle specific because it is just the EEL portion of class, and so this would be for all cycles. What we're going to start off with here is the sentence classification chart, chart A. And as you can see, it is completely blank. And we're just going to go over the topics that it covers, and then we're going to flesh those out. So we start with the 4 structures, as you can see circled here. And the 4 structures, then we've got the 4 purposes, the 7 patterns, the 8 parts of speech, and the 5 parts of a sentence. So we go back and we're looking at the 4 structures. The first of the 4 structures is simple. So let's go back here for a minute and let's just talk about it. When we think about, which we'll just go ahead and draw this on here. When we think about a house, right? We think about the way that it is structured. What is it like? What does it look like? Is it a simple house? Is it a little bit more? Or if we didn't have the chimney there, maybe we have a porch or a balcony, right? Okay. Let's go back, because we could have both, right? We could have a porch and a balcony and a chimney. Okay. Or do we maybe have multiple houses there? And if we have multiple houses, sometimes we have a little fence in between the houses. Or sometimes we have fancier houses that are connected. Or maybe one's not fancy and one is a little fancier with its chimney and the fence line in between both of them, right? So there's different ways that we can think about structures, different ways structures can look. So let's go ahead and get into that. All right, so again, simple. Simple is our first structure that we're going to talk about. When we think about that, we're going to think about our left hand, and we're going to think about our left hand closed, and we're going to think about the definition of a simple sentence. A simple sentence contains one independent clause and expresses a complete thought. An independent clause contains a subject and a verb and can stand alone. I think of my one hand, and it is all alone. It's simple. There's nothing special going on there. It is simple. Here's an example. I can get myself ready. Okay? It is all by myself. I can get myself ready. That's simple. All right, then we're going to go back and we're going to look at the chart, and our next one is going to be compound. Compound structure. What does that mean? A compound sentence contains 2 or more independent clauses joined by a coordinating conjunction which may or may not include a comma. So now we've added another hand in here. We have our existing left hand that we already did, which was our independent clause. And we've added on our right hand. What do you notice is different about the right hand than the left hand? Right, it's not just a fist. You can see that there is the thumb connecting those, right? So what does that mean? All right, we've got the independent clause and another independent clause. So we do have 2 fists going on. We do have 2 fists, but they are joined by a coordinating conjunction. That's what the thumb is here. It is the coordinating conjunction, which you can see here is the fence. And the coordinating conjunctions, we call those fanboys for short. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. And we will, we can go ahead and sing that now. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. It's very deep there. All right, let's get rid of all of that. And we'll move forward and break that down. Compound. Here we go. So we had our original, we had our original simple sentence, simple structure. That was our left fist. And it was, I can get myself ready. Now we've added on our additional independent clause, which in this sentence is you can sleep. We could say both of those by themselves. We could say, I can get myself ready, period. We could also say, you can sleep, period. We are joining these together into one sentence. I can get myself ready. Well, it doesn't look like ready, does it? It looks like red. There we go. Let's do this. Maybe we make it a little smaller. I can get myself ready. You can sleep. Each of these is that simple house structure, that simple structure, nothing fancy. They are joined by the coordinating conjunction or the fanboys, and this time we used which one? We used the word and. And. I can get myself ready and you can sleep. I can get myself ready and you can sleep. And again, that is signified by our left fist, the word and then the other independent one, which is you can sleep. We're going back to the chart, and now we are looking at complex. Okay, we're going to look and see. Yes, all right. We're looking at the complex structure. Complex structure. A complex sentence, I guess we can start doing this. Well, maybe. Let's go a little smaller. A complex sentence consists of one independent clause and at least one subordinate or dependent clause, which may or may not include a comma. Okay, so you can see that we still have the original fist here, but we have a little something something extra right here, which is kind of like a chimney right there. All right, so we've got the fist for the house and then the pinky for the chimney. The fist for the house and the pinky for the chimney. The fist for the house represents the independent clause, and the chimney represents the dependent or the subordinate clause. Okay, we're going to go here. A subordinate or dependent clause has a subject and a verb. All clauses have a subject and a verb, but it cannot stand alone because it does not make sense on its own. Types of dependent or subordinate clauses: noun clause, adjective clause, or we might say an adjectival clause, or an adverb clause or an adverbial clause. Okay, and again, this is what we hold up our left hand for the complex structure. All right. Now we're going to flesh it out. We're going to look at an example. All right, let's go back to our original one. Our original simple sentence was, I can get myself ready. That was the fist, remember? Or the simple part of the house. But we've added in the subordinate or the dependent clause. And it is when it's time to go. And we do have a comma there. When it's time to go, I can get myself ready. When it's time to go, I can get myself ready. When it's time to go, I can get myself ready. When it's time to go, I can get myself ready. Okay? We can't just walk up to someone and say, when it's time to go. Doesn't make any sense. They're going to look at us and wonder what in the world we are talking about because there's not the additional information given to them. All right, so now we're moving on to the compound complex structure. So this puts everything together, all right? The compound complex structure. You'll notice we have the original independent clause. We had our other independent clause. We've got our coordinating conjunction, and at least on one hand, maybe on both in some instances, but for sure, at least on one hand, we have the subordinate or dependent clause. Again, independent clause, joined by a fanboy or coordinating conjunction, and at least one of the clauses will have a dependent or subordinate clause along with it. All right, so let's go in and look at an example of that. All right. So we can create lots of sentences that have compound complex things. All right. So let's look and see. We're going to start with our original, which was I can get myself ready. I can get myself ready. I can get myself ready. And then remember, we joined it with and our other independent clause was you can sleep. You can sleep. I can get myself ready. You can sleep. And then we joined it with and. Okay? Now we're adding on that clause, that dependent clause that we looked at before, and it is when it's time to go. When it's time to go. Okay? So, when it's time to go, I can get myself ready and you can sleep. This brings all of this together into one sentence. And there will be times when there's more than one dependent clause. There can definitely be more than one dependent or subordinate clause. Okay? All right. And we're moving on. So, to recap, we have our simple, our compound. Simple is one independent clause. Compound is one, two, or more independent clauses joined by a fanboy, which is a coordinating conjunction, which some are for and nor, but or, yet so, for and nor, but or, yet so. All right, then we move to the complex. The complex has an independent clause joined by a dependent or subordinate clause. And then for our compound complex, we have our two or more independent clauses, which if you see, this one has the dependent this time instead of this one. Okay. Again, so we've got a simple or independent clause. Then we've got our coordinating conjunction or our fanboy. We have another independent clause, and we've got a dependent clause. That's what makes it compound complex, because it's joining the compound and the complex together to make a compound complex sentence. Now, if you remember, which I can't necessarily do, but do you remember what you're going to do for your simple? This would be your left fist. Your compound would be your left fist plus your right fist joined by your right thumb. Okay, then your complex is your left fist, and you've got your little pinky out. And then your compound complex brings all that together, your left fist, your right fist joined by the thumb, and at least one of them has their pinky extended. Okay, and for habit, your left pinky is fine. Okay, because that's what we did on your complex, which was your left fist and your pinky there. So this would be your left fist, your right fist, your thumb, your right thumb, to join them together, and your left pinky to symbolize the chimney, which is the dependent clause. And again, yes, it could be in the other sentence, but for repetition and memory, we're just using the same one every time. Okay. Moving on to the four purposes. What are the four purposes? Purpose. The reason for which something is done or created. The reason for which something exists. Sentences have a purpose. What kind of purposes do they have? How about our purpose? What is our purpose? Our purpose is that we are created by our Creator to know God and make Him known. That's our purpose. Okay, so here we are back at the blank chart, and we're going to start breaking down those four purposes. Our first one is declarative. You can see here that a declarative sentence ends with what kind of mark? Right, a period, and only a period. Here's an example. Declarative sentence, Mom made cookies. Okay, so let's come up with some additional ones. You can pause it and come up with some additional declarative sentences. A declarative sentence just makes a statement. Okay, declarative sentences make a statement. Sorry about all the clicking. I'm sure this is going to come through. Okay, they make a statement. And in class, we came up with some additional declarative statements. Okay, we have an exclamatory. We have exclamatory purposes. And they end with only an exclamation mark, which is great. Exclamation mark, exclamatory. Okay, so that's our second type. Exclamatory sentences share strong emotions, okay? They share strong emotions. Share strong emotion. All right. So we've got, we love cookies. Now, if it was just a declarative, we would say, we love cookies. But since it's exclamatory, this lets us know how we should read it, how we should say it. We love cookies. It's very, very strong emotion. We really, really love cookies a whole lot. So you can pause the video and come up with some exclamatory sentences of your own. Make sure that they are not a command, because that comes later. This is just a statement that you would make in a declarative sentence, but you're going to share strong emotion with your declaration, okay? Moving on. Interrogative. Interrogative sentences end with what? Yeah, that's right. A question mark. A question mark. All interrogative sentences end with a question mark. Think about interrogations. When you interrogate somebody, you're asking lots of questions. So interrogative. Interrogative sentences ask questions. Okay, so our question is, can we have some cookies now? Can we have some cookies now? Okay. So you can pause it and think of some interrogative sentences of your own. Okay, we're going to move on, and our last one is imperative. Now you'll notice that this is the one and only purpose that has two possibilities for the ending mark. Imperative sentences can end with a period, or they can end with an exclamation mark. Oops, let's not get rid of that, shall we? There. Okay, so we're going to move on, and we have imperative sentences. Imperative sentences give a command. All right, they give a command. It's not a suggestion, it's a command, okay? So here we go. Don't touch those cookies until you finished your dinner. Let's say that you've already told somebody that 3 or 4 times, and all of a sudden it's, don't touch those cookies until you finished your dinner. And how do we know how to say that, read it in our mind, or read it out loud? We've got our clues right here. If it is a command that ends in a period, we're not really sharing strong emotion with that command. We're just giving a command. If we have this here, we are very excited or with the command, or we're very passionate, we're very upset, whatever the case may be. Okay? Like if you were to say, watch out for the hole, right? You're not angry, you're just really excited and you want to make sure they hear you. So you would put an exclamation behind that if you were writing it out. So pause it and you can come up with some imperatives, some imperative sentences of your own. Imperative sentences. And remember, these are commands. These are definitely something you're telling someone to do. Okay, so we're going to move on, and the next thing is the 7 patterns. What is the first of the 7 patterns? So we're just going to go through and we're going to display each part as we go. So we've got S, V, I, S, V, T, D, O, SVLPN, SVLPA, SVTIODO, SVTDOOCN, SVTDOOCA. And there is a song that goes with this. SVI, SVTDO, SVLPN, SVLPA, SVTIODO, SVTDOOCN, SVTDOOCA, oops, my bad. SVI, SVTDO, SVLPN, SVLPA, SVTIODO, SVTDOOCN, SVTDOOCA. Okay, let's do it one more time because some people have never done this before. SVI, SVTDO, SVLPN, SVLPA, SVTIODO, SVTDOOCN, SVTDOOCA. So those are the sentence patterns, the 7 sentence patterns that we're going to use. We're going to move on and do the parts of speech. And if you've been in foundations, you have probably learned the parts of speech chant, but we'll go ahead and look at it. Noun. All right. What are we going to look at? We're going to talk about a noun. A noun. A noun. A noun names a person, place, thing, activity, or idea. Okay, so we have, let's back that up, a person. Who is this? Or who does it look like? Who are they portraying? Right, Jesus, okay? Then we've got a place. What kind of place would this be? Home or house, okay? Then we have thing. What about this thing here? Good, a pretzel. Okay, then we've got activity. What is this activity called? Running. It's confusing because we hear the word running and we think it's a verb, but we'll get into that later. But that is an activity. I'm going to go running. I love running. If we think of it like that, it kind of helps, okay? And then we have, or an idea, joy. I feel joy. I have joy, okay? All right, let's get rid of those. So that's the first slot on our chart, which was noun. Okay, we are moving on to verbs here. And we're going to look at the definition of a verb. We're just going to read it first. A verb is a word that asserts action. A verb is a word that asserts an action, shows a state of being, links two words together, or helps another verb. And we do have a song to go along with that.
Verb is a word that asserts an action, shows a state of being, links two words together, or helps another verb. A verb is a word that asserts an action, shows a state of being, links two words together, or helps another verb. A verb is a word that asserts an action, shows a state of being, links two words together, or helps another verb.
You'll have to forgive me. All my songs are running together, so I'm just relying on my recordings. Okay, so then you can see that we have, I guess I already had marked, we have linking verbs and helping verbs. We have a definition for a linking verb. Linking verbs make an assertion by joining two words. So let's find the linking verbs. Linking verb, linking verb, linking verb. Here we go.
A linking verb song. Linking verb makes an assertion by joining two words. A linking verb makes an assertion by joining two words. Am, are, is, was, were, be, been, feel, become, remain, taste, seem, appear, look, sound, stay, smell, grow. A linking verb makes an assertion by joining two words. A linking verb makes an assertion by joining two words. Am, are, is, was, were, be, being, been. Feel, become, remain, taste, seem, appear, look, sound. Stay, smell, grow.
All right, so that is our linking verb definition. Let's tidy up our sheet here. We also have helping verbs. Helping verbs. And we have a helping verb definition, I believe. Do we have that? Helping verbs song for sure, which just lists them. I may not have that. I may need to find one. We have helping verbs. Helping verb, a helping verb, helps another verb assert action, being, or existence. Okay? And you can see that where it says asserts an action, asserts action, shows a state of being, or existence. So they share some things. They share some parts of the definition, which can be helpful and sometimes confusing. So we've got helping verbs are do, does, did, has, have, had, am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been, may, must, might, should, could, would, shall, will, can. Okay, let's change colors. Helping verbs are do, does, did, has, have, had, am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been, may, must, might, should, could, would, shall, will, can. And all these songs are listed on the band page under that music post, basically. Okay, so yeah, that covers the verb page. All right, moving on. We are now down to pronouns. Pronoun. And we've got our definition here. Whoopsie. I think I was making myself some notes, is what I was doing. Okay, so we've got a pronoun replaces a noun in order to avoid repetition. A pronoun replaces a noun in order to avoid repetition. Okay, and we learned lots and lots and lots of pronouns last year in Cycle 2. Okay? Since it's an at-home one, we can kind of tackle this one a little bit real quickly. We're just going to take a little rabbit trail. This column is possessive pronoun adjectives. It does not say possessive pronoun adjectives, but that's what this whole chart is. This whole chart is pronouns. So we would say possessive pronoun adjective, possessive pronoun adjective. And that would be 3 different things, okay? So there's more there than this column, which just says possessive pronouns, okay? Possessive, whoops, that's too light. Possessive pronouns. There is more going on here. Sorry, here. My bad. There is more going on in this column than there is in this column. Why am I bringing that up? Why does it matter? Because when we are using the possessive pronoun adjectives, we're going to do 3 things. We're going to say 3 things. Okay, so let's just say that we're talking about a pencil. And we start every one with that, as in the contraction that is. Okay, that's my pencil, that's your pencil, that's his pencil, that's her pencil, that's its pencil, that's our pencil, that's your pencil, that's their pencil. An adjective describes a noun or a pronoun. Here is the noun that it's describing. Whose pencil is it? It's my pencil. It's a describing word, okay? That's what adjectives do. So when you're doing a possessive pronoun adjective, you are mentioning the noun that it is describing. Okay? Now we're going to get rid of that. And we're going to look at the possessive pronoun. The possessive pronoun. And again, less stuff. So guess what? Less words. Okay? We're not going to list the thing that we're talking about. We're just going to say that's And then we're going to fill the pronoun in here. That's mine, that's yours, that's his, that's hers, that's its, that's ours, that's yours, that's theirs. We don't mention the thing that we're talking about. Okay, so that was our little fun rabbit trail, and you can always rewind and go over that again, especially if you're trying to do cycle 2 memory masters or just know what is what for your own self. Okay, so we're moving to an adverb. Adverbs. An adverb modifies a verb, adjective, or another adverb, and answers the questions how and where and why, how often, how much, and under what condition, and to what extent. An adverb modifies a verb, adjective, or another adverb, and answers the questions how, when, where, and why, how often, how much, and under what condition, and to what extent. Okay, so we are looking at adverbs, and again, adverbs can answer how much, and you can see a list. Oops, my bad, let me go back. Adverbs can answer where. And here you can see a list of where adverbs. It can get confusing because sometimes the adverbs can sound like a preposition. Sometimes adverbs are placed with a preposition next to them. But that's something we'll get into later. You can see it answers how much. And here we have some how much adverbs. So let's just see, like if we used for the where, we would say run away. Run where? Run away. Love completely. Love how much? Love completely. Okay, then we've got how. Okay, he spoke quickly. How did he speak? He spoke quickly. Quickly modifies the verb spoke. Completely modifies the verb love. Away modifies the verb go or run. And because I can't remember which one I said. All right, then we've got how often. And here are some how often adverbs. Oops, that was the how. Okay, so let's see. I never go. If somebody says, do you ever go to escape rooms? I never go. Or I sometimes go. Or I often go. Each of those could modify the verb go. Okay? Or I usually go. Lots of ways to do that one. And go is obviously not the only verb that would modify, but it's an example. Okay, then we've got our when. Yeah, it answers the question when. Okay. I'm going to speak today. Let's see. Let's go later. Let's go soon. Let's go now. So again, go is an easy one to throw in and use those as a when modifier for the verb go. Okay, we're moving on. Let's erase all that. We've got under what condition, to what extent. Did we have the why? Yeah, we didn't cover that one. But again, this is just a general list, and we are going to get deeper into adverbs later.